Meanwhile, we're taking a look at political developments right now. All the buzz of a certain Floridian with presidential ambitions. Now, I know what you're thinking, Governor Ron DeSantis. But this actually concerns a certain mayor of Miami. Take a look.
I just came back from Washington. I spent 4 days without seeing the sun. And I kept thinking to myself, my God, there's only one job in America that would make me want to stay here long term. You guys can figure out what that is.
I would assume you were talking about the one place you could be is maybe the White House that would make you put up with all that Washington nonsense. Is that what you're thinking?
Look, I'm strongly considering running. It's something that I've discussed with my family. My family is on board.
Right now, he had to rub it in my nose with that backdrop of, 80 degrees Miami behind it. That's his office. So can you imagine? You'll probably concentrate more on work if you're in the Oval Office rather than that office there. But again, Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff, best-selling author, Fox News contributor, brilliant on all things political and much more. Karl, he gets the latest buzz. I know George Will, some months back, had talked to him as a rising star, again in his mid-40s. That's the same age as the Florida governor. He could just be the latest buzz. There's going to be a lot of buzz, isn't there?
There is, and probably a lot more buzz than the field can take. But been a very successful mayor of a big city, made it into a magnet for jobs, and particularly turned it into a tech center. So he's well liked by his fellow governors, actually mayors around the country in the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and he's interested. We'll see how far that goes. Hard to go. Name the last serious presidential candidate who was a mayor and made it into the sweepstakes.
Now, he was arguing there were a couple of presidents who were mayors early in their careers, but really no one has ascended from being a mayor right to president, right? So that would be right. A historic first, if it happened, right?
I think the last one who went there in relatively quick terms was Grover Cleveland, who was the mayor of Buffalo for a year, governor of New York for 2 years, and president of the United States immediately thereafter.
Yeah, and he served 2 terms. It counts as 2 presidents in our history because they weren't concurrent. Let me ask you a little bit about that, because that brings up Donald Trump, who wants to essentially do the Grover Cleveland thing, get back into the White House, serve 2 terms, not concurrent ones. But he's going to have a lot of competition, isn't he? But it might serve to his benefit, as it did a crowded field in 2016. What do you think?
Well, if it's 17 candidates, it's going to serve to his advantage quite well. But if it is if by the end of the year we have 4 or 5 significant candidates and everybody else that thought about it is either out of the race or clearly not seriously in the running, then it's going to be a problem, because he's going to be capped out. 31% of Republicans in a survey from USA Today in December said they wanted him to run again. Now, 47% at that point said they might vote for him. But when you only have 31% of the people saying, I prefer that you run, it sort of shows the cap that he might have. And he's behind in polls in some of these early states. Admittedly, it's very early. But if you're behind in a place like Florida to Ron DeSantis, or behind Ron DeSantis in New Hampshire, it's a sign that there's a cap on the top of your support. So the more the merrier in the field. But we got plenty of time for the field to grow and then begin to winnow. And so I doubt that we're going to have anywhere close to the 17 candidates that we had on the stages in August, September, and October of 2015.
Yeah, I can remember they would have 2 debates. You had the main table and the candidates who weren't polling as well table. It was bizarre. Karl, I'd like to talk a little bit about what's happening with this Chinese balloon. And you've often reminded me, whatever we obsess about in the moment certainly doesn't have to carry out to a general election that's still less than 2 years away, less than a year away from the primaries, of course. But what do you think of this one? And then the growing rage and anger at China, and maybe the way we're handling it now, and not shooting the thing down, not giving Americans any really details, at least from the White House. What do you think?
Yeah, look, moments like this help add to or create impressions that may last. The withdrawal from Kabul marked the United States as weak on the international stage. I think this reinforces that. Think about it. It was loitering over Alaska and making its way down over Canada and then in over Montana. The administration knew about it and did nothing to announce it or to draw attention to it or to cancel the trip, the Secretary of State's trip, until yesterday. So I think this is, unfortunately, for the administration, going to add to the sense that they're not strong on the international stage. Why did they let this balloon go this far? I thought Mark Esper made a very critical point, however, and that is, the Chinese may not have known about this. That is to say, there has often been a disconnect between the Chinese political leadership, Xi Jinping, and the PLA, the People's Liberation Army, with the military sometimes doing things that it's not exactly clear it's clear they're not in the best interest of China, but it's not exactly clear that the Chinese leadership said, yeah, this is the time to send a balloon over the United States. This is not going to serve the Chinese in any way, shape, or form any good in making for better relationship with the United States. Now, maybe they don't care, but I think Mark Esper put his finger on something. This could have been somebody in the military establishment saying, we don't need to check with Beijing. We're going to go do this as a provocation with the United States.
Unless the leadership was perfectly fine with that.
And might have been.
Yeah.
We don't know, but the
Right.
fact of the matter is that it is what it is, and what it now looks like is a provocation, and the United States looks like it's weak coming to the table. We better get that thing down out of the skies as soon as it's over the Atlantic and make every effort to retrieve that and make a scene about what we find out about the capabilities of that so-called weather balloon.
Got it. Karl Rove, always good seeing you, my friend. Karl in Texas on all these developments.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.